Okay.
Okay, so we're recording now. So I don't want to edit anyway. I want people to just like know what's going on because I think that's cool. Because
This is
then
the real stuff, baby.
these are real people. What? Okay, so I was gonna say you used to be Canadian, but what's like I says now you're in Chicago?
Yeah, I'm originally from Canada, from British Columbia, but my wife lives down here, so I moved down here. So
Oh, okay, okay,
yeah,
right on. That's well. I moved around when I was in the army, but then I was bouncing at a bar where I met a girl who then I was going to get engaged to. So I moved out to Calgary. It's the same sort of thing. It's funny how we get led around, isn't it?
it is pretty much.
I know. All right. So, this is Nick. Nick has a degree in physical education. You're actually qualified to do this stuff.
I'm actually, like, ironically enough, qualified for this stuff.
Yeah. And psychology, which might be why your sales copy kicks ass so good. Um, Okay, yeah. So personal trainer as well for what? How many years now? Like 11 plus or so?
I started doing personal training a few years into my actual training, so it's basically been a trainer for more than 20 years now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I was looking at some outdated stuff because you're
yeah,
all over bodybuilding.com.
yeah.
Um, is it good writing there? Because you've got like a billion articles on there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't published anything too recent there, but when I first got started online, yeah, they were looking for articles, so I sent them. They got like 40, 50 of my articles on their site. So
Yeah, it's pretty wicked. Actually, and I put on Facebook that you and I were going to be doing this chat, and one of the first comments I got, just to paraphrase, I can't say exactly what it said, but the gist of it was that um, Nick's a real good guy and his stuff is super awesome.
yeah,
So what more could you ask for, right? Like,
it was money well spent.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So you can tell your wife to quit getting on the Facebook page. Yeah,
Exactly.
no, but it's nice to hear that that validation for sure. Because you throw stuff out there that you put your heart and soul into, and you just hope that people like it, right? But
Yeah.
you know. Okay, so you got the health and fitness website. Do you go by the with the Fitstep or the fitness ebooks? Because you had a few a while back, and then you also
Yeah.
have the best exercises you've never heard of, right? Is that its own membership site, right?
That's more of like a. I've got like so many different things. It's hard to keep
I
track of
know.
everything now. Yeah, I've got my fitstep.com site is the one I started with, and that's where all my information is right now. I'm
Okay.
actually working on putting together a madscientistofmuscle.com, which is where all my advanced and unique and insane training stuff is going to go. So I'm pretty much going to separate the stuff out so I can really focus on, the real crazy stuff and just target that audience and, just really cater to people who want to train like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
crazy, crazy like what? Crazy intensity wise, or crazy like as in this is shit you have never seen, or like what?
Both, pretty much both. I mean, basically, a lot of the stuff I do is very experimental. So a lot of it is a lot of the times when I'm shooting a video and you see these videos, that's the first time I'm trying it myself too.
Oh, for real? Cool.
Yeah. So some of these exercises I've never even done before, and I'm putting them together, and I'm working them. This is the first time I'm doing, and you're seeing it on video here. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and those videos don't see the light of day. But the
Oh,
good stuff,
really?
yeah.
I bet you they'd be probably some of your most popular. They probably go viral because of like epic fail. Guy
Yeah.
crashes over himself over the head or something like that.
Actually,
But
that
yeah.
has happened before.
Has it? Yeah, man.
I was
Sometimes
doing
mistakes are the best.
a dumbbell pullovers with a 125-pound dumbbell on a Swiss ball, and
Oh,
my
okay.
feet, and you can kind of see where this is going.
Yeah.
My feet weren't anchored down, and
Oh,
so I get this dumbbell up, get over my head, and
oh man.
my,
What did I do?
that was me, man. I did it again. My headphones popped right out of the computer.
There's our viral.
Yeah,
There's our
this is
viral
that's how
component
you
for
know this
now.
is real. There's no special effects here. This is
Okay. Am I in there now? We're good?
we're back. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, sweet. I wasn't sure whether you were gonna fall left or right off the Swiss ball, but okay.
Yeah, nice.
Pretty soon we'll get off of these typed out questions I have here. Something will take us off the main course, but this will keep us nice and getting things done here. So you're going to take your coaching site, switch it over to the Mad Scientist. Oh yeah, that's something else. Your little key phrase is now becoming like he's mad, which is cool, right? Because you have a thing.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
that's
Somebody's got to give you your thing though, right? Like you kind of do something for a while, and it's kind of like Nick Nilsson, the mad scientist of muscle and all that. And then when people start actually saying, Nick Nilsson, he's mad, he's whatever, then it's like, yeah, I got a thing.
Oh yeah, and the
You
mad
know,
scientist. I didn't give myself that title. I had so many
oh,
people say, that's such a mad scientist in the gym, man. I'm like, you know what? That's pretty cool. I think I am.
that's nice, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome. It's almost like the guy that gives himself a nickname, it never sticks.
no,
And then the
yeah.
worst one that he hates, it sticks
That's the one
forever.
that sticks. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. KKK, and well, that's probably not a good thing to say on audio like that. Didn't mean it in the way everybody's thinking. Do you still train personal clients one-on-one, or do you stick to mostly online now?
I do pretty much just online now. Sometimes I'll take on a client like distance training.
Yeah,
I actually got my wife's nephew. He comes and trains with me every once in a while in my basement here too. So I got another guinea pig that I can work with on here too. So
that's awesome. How old is he and what size is he?
he's just starting out. He's 18, I think, right now.
Yeah.
So he's just in the beginning stages of learning. He's actually studying to be a personal trainer. So I'm not only training him, I'm helping him out by teaching him a lot of how I do training and coaching cues and here's the tricks of the trade, stuff like that. So yeah, it's good.
Well, that's a real good prime age, to be having someone, especially if you wanted to show a transformation of somebody, whichever way that he might be going, unless he's already, super jacked, but whatever.
He's
But
working on
that,
it. That's his goal.
yeah, nice, nice. That brings us down another path too, because I know you used to be a cross country runner, and so was I. But I want to talk about that in a little bit. Um, or we could talk about it now. Yeah, let's talk about it now.
Sure.
So, like, you can even just tell now, by looking at the video, like, your neck is big, and you've got traps, you've got shoulders, and if anybody has seen your before and after pictures, which of course there's a massive time lapse, right, as there
Yeah.
is for all of us, because we've all been training for like 15, 20 years if you've been in the game for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're a new creature. That's pretty, you know
Pretty
what I
much.
mean? Like that's really cool, because
Yeah.
like I started off at 126 pounds,
Wow.
and then I eventually got up to 210, but I was soft. So then I cut back, and then I competed at about 184, and then I went up to 206, and then back down. And now with yoga and doing a bicep tear, I've managed to do about 170, and now I got the bug again, and I'm going back up. Now, for you, putting on your first stint of muscle there, was it abbreviated training, high rep squats,
It
four
was
gallons of milk a day?
cafeteria food.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, actually, when I first started, I was literally like 140 pounds, 145 pounds, and
Oh, you're 5'11", I'm 5'8", so
yeah.
that's pretty much the same.
Oh yeah, total cross country runner. I was literally my first few months of training. I didn't really know what I was doing, so my eating wasn't quite right. So I actually, as I was trying to build muscle, I actually got leaner, kind of by accident.
Yeah.
It was really crazy. I got down to like 3% body fat by accident. Like I was totally not training purposefully to lose fat, but I
Yeah.
ended up getting just shredded.
There's a
And
hidden lesson in there, isn't there?
yeah,
Yeah.
just how I was eating and how I was training is basically how I was doing it. And it was like 2 meals a day. I would rollerblade to the gym, train, rollerblade back, and I wouldn't eat for like an hour or two. And then, so not knowing what I was doing, I got the leanest I've ever been in my life.
I think you have an interesting story, if I recall, because we've chatted before,
Yeah.
like I was like 2003 or 2004, back when podcasts were teleseminars or webinars.
Yeah.
And I think you'd had a story about where you were training legs one day, and then you had to like rollerblade home. Unless I'm mistaken that with Arnold's story about squats and bicycles. I don't know, but I think you have a story too where
That
you
sounds familiar, actually. Yeah,
yeah,
'cause I'd do squats and then I'd be like, oh, geez, now I got
yeah,
rollerblade 2 miles downhill. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be great.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where I learned about eccentric training.
Yes, and
Yeah.
crashing. And
Cool. Yeah, so one thing I noticed with your metabolic surge program, which is by far your most popular one, um, that it's kind of hard to convey the message of a physique transformation, because not too many people use like the word physique, you know what I mean?
yeah,
They use body or whatever. And you used to be able to say, "Oh, I'm a bodybuilder," and that meant Frank Zane, Serge Nubret, kind of like lean, beach ready, awesome physique, even if you're female or whatever. Now when you say bodybuilder, you can't really, because people just think chemical bloated, like
yeah.
I
Giant
was gonna
muscular
say,
SpongeBob kind of physique. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say 240, but like by modern standards, 240 is small now, like
Yeah.
for a jacked bodybuilder. But yeah, I wish we had another term now to, I don't know what we would even use anymore. Need a new
Yeah.
term for physique change, unless you've run across something interesting.
Really, no. Body transformation is more what it is. Yeah. So,
Yeah, like that
yeah.
whole no, it wasn't Muscle Media 2000. It was the EAS, the Body for Life sort of thing.
Yep.
Um, Now, I was running across a few things with your books, and I noticed that Metabolic Surge is like it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Noble, it's like it's everywhere, right?
Oh
Did you
yeah.
happen to hit Audible?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, okay. Mm. Okay, because I was thinking Audible gives a free download, right?
Hmm.
And if you had an Audible version of your book, that'd be awesome because then people could get basically, I mean, you get your pay, right? But
Yeah.
they could get one free copy of it by Audible. But anyways, there's tons of places where you can get your stuff. But the point I was trying to get to was, do you find that doing your instruction and your training through the site versus the Amazon Kindle books to be better or worse? Like, do you like selling them off of the site more because then you can, first of all, be able to communicate with the person with email, and then the video and the Excel diet sheets and all that. I guess I kind of just answered your question for you, but
Yeah.
are you
It's
finding things that sort of way?
pretty much, yeah. It's pretty much the version that I like to do is, I have the Kindle version and stuff, but with the ebook one, I can get into video, the video libraries of exercises and stuff like that, and just the layout of the book is more detailed, and I can get into more stuff and add pictures and full color and the whole deal. So that's pretty much the version that I think is the better version. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I see on Metabolic Surge I was looking at,
Mhm.
and you actually allow people to email you questions and stuff like that, which is it's not ridiculous, but it's ridiculously awesome if somebody takes advantage of the fact, that someone with all your experience, they're gonna. I mean, your book is like a third, maybe a quarter of the price of a personal training session.
Mhm.
So they can read through this information without like looking around or anything. And then if they have questions, they can email you.
Yep.
Like that's awesome. And then if during that question you can't just convey it by written, you can send them a link to a video which shows them exactly how to whatever squat, dead, bench dip, and they're like, "Oh yeah, but I can't afford a dip machine." You're like, "Oh, just throw two barbells in your power rack and have at her this way."
Yep.
Like, I mean, it's awesome the way we can do this now. Like,
It is really is. You can communicate stuff so much easier just
yeah,
online and reach so many more people who basically couldn't be reached before. So
yeah. So I guess what I'm saying to anybody that's listening to this is that yeah, maybe something's like $10 cheaper or whatever on Kindle and all that, but I mean, for the sake of spending an extra, usually $10, I mean, you have the world at your fingertips as far as training instruction goes. So
yeah.
that would be the way to go. Visit the site. So you'd be going to fitstep.com and I'll link to it and all that good stuff. Um, Motivation books. I noticed you don't have any motivation books, and I don't either. And I'm wondering if maybe the reason you don't, unless you have one hidden that I didn't see, is that it's kind of hard to write for something that you've never had to sort of implement yourself. Like for me, I just don't understand why somebody doesn't want to train.
No, no, it's the same thing. It's I don't have any motivation books because I've never felt the need to try and scratch up and motivate myself because it's just the drive is always there. And I do appreciate that some people do need that help. But for me, my audience also does not really need that help. The people who come to me for training are people who already want, to take things to the next level, who have that drive within them already. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I don't do actual personal training anymore, is because I don't want to put my energy into pushing somebody else in that way. It's
Yeah.
when you're doing a personal training session, there's some people who just have that motivation and have that drive within them already, but there are some people who need a babysitter and who need someone who is just going to crack the whip and push them and pour energy into them, and that's not my personality. And so personal training was never really something that I wanted to do for a living, basically. I've done it because that's how I had to do it and get started and kind of work my way into this. But this kind of more like a coaching and advisory kind of role is so much more fits my personality. And you know, rather than being the cheerleader, rather than being the taskmaster, it's like if you're coming to me for training, I'll give you and I'll tell you everything you need to know. But it's up to you to do it, and I'm not going to hold your hand, and I'm not going to kick you in the butt. You have to do it. That's
Yeah.
kind of my philosophy, and some people need something different. That's how I operate, and I think the people who really are motivated don't need that extra motivation in the form of a book. So
Yeah.
that's long answer to a short question.
No, but it's right because I mean, there's a market for it, obviously, because there's so many, self-help and personal development books out there, and I've taken a crack at it so many times, and then I get, man, like 10,000 words into it, and I'm just like, ugh,
Yeah,
like, and that's the same way when I was training all day long, because after since I've talked to you before, I opened up a gym and I've had it shut down and all this, but I'd be personal training all day long, and it was exactly what you just said. It's the same thing where you love you love the training, and sometimes pouring the energy out to people that don't want to be there is kind of a weird situation
yeah.
because
They're paying you to pour energy into them, but they don't want to be there, and it's like this weird parasitic kind of relationship.
totally, totally, and it's
Yeah,
like someone going to a painter and saying, or an artist like painter, not a house painter, or whatever, and saying, you know, I don't want to learn how to paint, but I'm here so you can show me how, and the
yeah,
dude's like, well, this is my passion, and you're asking me to like
yeah,
help you do something you hate. Like, we're not even on
yeah,
the same sort of level here.
yeah,
I think one of the things though with the motivation is that perhaps they didn't get into it young enough, when it was more of a natural thing. Like, it's a lot easier to be active when you're, 12 and you're like 115 pounds and you're running around like a maniac, and
yeah. It's
whatever,
natural. Yeah,
laser tag, BB guns, whatever, the case may be. Um, they didn't get into it at that age, so they never really experienced the joy of having that freedom. And so now that all this movement is just always associated with discomfort, and maybe they don't even know that it can work for them. Like
yeah,
a lot of this online stuff, like how many people try to make a living online and they don't because there's a seed of doubt that they probably can't.
yeah,
And so, you know what I mean? Without the positive reinforcement, you get into this sort of downward spiral where you're like, well,
yeah,
maybe I shouldn't even try and blah, blah, blah. Whereas you and I, we've been through the whole gamut of thin, muscular, lean, bulked up, in there,
yeah,
felt it all. We know what we like. We know how to get there, and know it's just a matter of putting in the time. And we know how good it feels once you get the ball moving if you're following the right information.
yeah.
So we don't need that motivation, maybe.
Yeah. I think you're right on the money too. With when people are younger, oftentimes it's seen as punishment, physical activity. You know,
Yeah,
whereas
nowadays, I
you go to
guess.
gym class and they're like, okay, you messed up, so go take a lap as
Yeah,
punishment. You know, 20
yeah,
push-ups, drop and give me 20. It's like physical activity is seen as punishment. They don't find things that they enjoy about exercise, about movement, about training. And that carries over into the adult life where that association of this is punishment is still there. So it's like, okay, the doctor says I got to lose 20 pounds or I'm going to die.
yeah,
Okay, so I guess I got to go to the gym so I don't die.
yeah,
So they
totally.
drag themselves to the gym and, make this trainer, they pay him whatever to,
Yeah,
push them and be accountable, which, if they're doing something, that's great, but at the same time, they have no joy in what they're doing, which to me, I don't understand it. I don't come from that kind of background, so it's hard for me to, I only want to work with people who want to be there, basically, who are motivated to seek me out and train with me, and I don't take on anybody who is like, okay, well, I guess I should probably, I probably need to do some exercise. I'm like, well, then you're
yeah.
not going to work with me, you know?
And by that, you don't mean that you don't want to train beginners, because there's high, like, I shouldn't put words in your mouth, but I'm assuming it's more about the desire and not so much
Oh yeah, that's the
the
thing is
ability level, right?
exactly, yeah. And I've trained beginners, and I love training beginners who are motivated because it's just like opening their eyes to a whole new world every time you show them a new exercise, and that
Yeah,
discovery is really really cool to be a part of,
yeah,
especially when they're motivated and they really want to be there. It's the beginners who are being basically in their mind forced to exercise,
Hmm.
Those are the people who I don't really want to work with because,
Yeah.
they just want to go in the treadmill and put in their time. It's like, okay, well, I can just stand here and talk to you while you're doing that, but, you know, that's not doing anything for either of us. And when I try and show them how to do stuff, then it's like they'll just do the minimum. Okay, how many reps do I have to do? 10 reps. Okay, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, done.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. Or you've managed to stay with them for 3 months, then you're like, okay, we're gonna do some incline dumbbell presses now, and they just look around, but they're not even looking for an incline bench. They just have absolutely no clue what you just said, and you're like, man, it's been 3 months, man. Like
yeah,
you got to at least know what an incline bench is, maybe what some dumbbells there are, and then I can maybe help you out from there. But like, not a clue, and you're just
yeah,
thinking, yeah, you're just not into it, right?
yeah.
I think for me personally, when I do the one-on-one stuff, I like the guys that were sort of in my similar state where it was skinny, not confident, and just wanting to feel comfortable in their own skins, and then watching the personalities change, and like
Yeah.
watching this whole creature sort of come out. I like that.
Metamorphosis.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
There's that's a good word. We should use that for some.
Oh yeah.
Um,
That's actually going to be one of my new programs.
Bing.
Yep.
So
I'm,
let me know when you're launching that, and
yeah.
then hopefully this Fat to Fit podcast by that point will be epically huge,
Yeah.
and it'll be a nice platform to help. Um, so last week, I had the pleasure of talking to Dennis,
Hmm.
and known Weiss is how he says it, right?
Yep.
Weiss or Weiss,
Yeah.
yeah. And how cool is it to have a nickname, the Yukon Hercules?
That's awesome.
I know.
Yeah.
So how'd you he mentioned you because I said that I knew a couple people online, and I said I mentioned your name, and he was like, yeah, I know Nick, and just went on. How'd that happen?
My first book, The Best Exercises You Never Heard of, back in 2002. I put that out, and within like a matter of days, he found it online and asked if he could get a review copy.
Of
And
course he
and
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I recognized his name. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I sent him a copy, and yeah, I got on the phone with him. We've been friends ever since. So literally, I've known him for 12 years. So it's a and he's a great guy. And literally, he's trained with some legends in the business. He knows like all the old school, golden age. He's trained with these guys. He worked with them. Chuck Sipes, he did like correspondence-based training with, and Chuck Sipes is just a beast. Like before the advent of steroids, this guy was like doing ridiculous feats of strength, and he was built like
The picture
just
of
like
him
a
in front of the
boom.
logging truck.
Yeah,
There's one picture of him in front of a logging truck there, and he's like leaning back like this. It's like a freak.
it's
It was
ridiculous. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
If this is what somebody who's genetically superior and puts in the hard work can
Yeah.
accomplish, and it's just unfreaking believable. And I don't think a lot of people have really the true appreciation of what some of these golden age bodybuilders, how strong they were and how muscular they were.
Yeah, like
And how lean they were able to stay and keep their waist nice and tight and not get all bloated and
I
ridiculous
know.
looking. And so I got massive respect for those guys because they did it through hard work, good food, and hard training. And Dennis has done some amazing feats of strength too. I mean, some of the squatting stuff he's
I
done.
know.
He's not much of a presser. He keeps telling me that, but as far as like the squatting and the deadlifting, he
Yeah.
would he would do like warm up sets, 20 reps, 500 pounds on the deadlift. And it's
Yeah.
like that's awesome.
He was telling me about how he cold squatted at his 405. I think it might have been 20 or something like. It doesn't matter if there's four plates on the bar. I don't care how many you're doing. It's still cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, some guy was like, "Hey, what are you on, dog?" And he's like, "What? What am I on?" I was like, I thought that was awesome. He's
I'm on
so
rep number 20.
like he's in his 70s now. But talking to him, I was so jacked up. It was just like the best. I told him it was the best conversation I've ever had with anybody. I just felt like, yeah, well, I mean, you're the same. I mean, when you hear Larry Scott, Sergio Olivier, Arnold, John Grimmick, Chuck Sipes, um, like Dave Draper, and Bill Pearl.
Mhm.
And he's like, yeah, so, and I was watching, whatever. And I was talking to Bill Pearl, and he's saying about my book. And for me, it was like,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? Because like those are people that you only see like in Iron Man magazine and all that, and to actually talk to somebody that's talked to them.
Yeah.
Crazy. More people need to go over to his site, which I'll put in here too, and and buy his shit. It's awesome. It's good
He's
stuff.
got really good stuff. Yeah,
Seriously.
it's hardcore bodybuilding stuff, and it's just like, yeah, this is
All
the stuff
legit
that
stuff that
worked. Yeah,
works. Yeah, yeah, all the stuff that works.
yep.
And I mean, that's obviously the same way I feel about your stuff too, because that's why we're talking. I love the stuff that you do. Which brings us to Metabolic Surge. I was looking at it. I know it's for everybody, but are you slanting it more towards women at all? Or is that just
Um,
the way that you're opting to get that free? I'll tell you guys about what he's got for you guys for free later. But yeah, opt in.
yeah, it's for everybody basically.
Okay.
And originally, I put together the program for myself because I wanted a program that I could use to lose fat while keeping and potentially building muscle while doing it. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to have a program that I had to, do meal plans. I didn't want to, be particularly focused on like counting out calories and stuff like that because I can't stand doing that. And some people do great with it. I don't do great with it. I've followed a meal plan for like one day in my entire life, and that was that.
So you're
But
saying with Metabolic Surge, you don't do a calorie counting approach?
I don't
Because that's
personally know.
huge.
Yeah, I do have it in there for people who want to, and I have
Yep.
guidelines as far as how much you should eat. But as
Yep.
far as like actually counting calories and measuring stuff, no. Because what I do, the approach I take is based on macronutrients, and it's not like if it fits your macros, that kind of stuff. Um,
Macros, everybody is like, are you talking
Protein,
like,
carbs, and fats.
okay.
Yeah, basically, macronutrients. And
Yeah.
so basically, what the program is you're rotating between different nutrients. So you're basically just eating different food groups, and you're not necessarily worrying about, am I eating 2,200 calories or 2,400 calories today? It's like, okay, well, this is the type of food you're eating today, and just don't eat very much.
Okay.
That's my approach. It's like I call it a nutritional sledgehammer. So
Yep.
where basically it's like you don't have to deal with all these little nuances and all that. It's like, okay, this is what you're doing this week. 5 days you're doing low carb eating, and just don't hog out, and you're gonna lose fat. These are
Yeah.
the metabolic conditions we set up. The training is based on the hormonal profile, basically that's caused by the nutrients that you're eating. So you're actually training based on what you're eating, which very few programs do. But the nutrients you're eating affect your hormone balance in your body. For example, if you're eating low carb, your insulin levels are very stable and relatively low. That's the perfect time to do training that boosts your growth hormone, because growth hormone and insulin don't get along. So growth hormone is great for supporting muscle mass while losing fat.
I don't know
So
if people understand what you just said, but you just like you unlocked the door there to like with insulin and growth hormone combating each other, because that's one of the biggest things people run into with bulking up, cutting down, trying to maintain muscle. Like it's huge what you just said. I don't think people understand what you just gave them right there. But anyway, sorry, go on.
oh yeah, no, that's good to emphasize that because
Yeah.
that's so true. That's just huge. And basically, so what this metabolic surge program does is it takes you through nutritional rotation, macronutrient rotation, and every single training day is scripted according to how the hormones in your body are affected by what you're eating. So you train based on what you're eating. And
Nice.
there's not too many programs that actually take it to that level. They'll have different days of eating, but they may have a training that's the same as what it is when you're trying to do different goals. It's like, no, you need to, very specifically focus, because different training absolutely affects how your body kicks out hormones, kicks out, responds to training.
Well,
And
how old are you now, Nick?
I'm 41.
Good job on you. You don't look 41. But
No.
anyway, so see, when you just were talking about hormone levels and all like that, like both of you now, I'm 39. So we're on that cusp now where things are starting to, you know, slide back the testosterone levels and stuff like that. So if you're able to boost certain hormones, especially at our age, to maintain muscle mass and all that, we're talking about keeping healthy and virile for much longer than if you were, say, cardioing yourself to death.
Yeah.
Like this whole hormone manipulation thing, not just for fat loss and all that, but also for quality of life is huge.
Yeah.
So just keep
Absolutely.
I
And the
just
other
want people
the
to understand really what you're doing here because it sounds awesome.
yeah, the
Yeah.
program itself is just like when you read through it, it just makes such logical sense, like every single step of the way. And when you're doing like the first week of training is very, very focused just on fat loss. So you're really losing a lot of fat in that first week. And there's
Which
a
is
few,
the best place to start, right?
yeah,
A lean frame.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then what you do is you actually take advantage of that low calorie, low carb eating. And then in the second week of the program, you put the carbs back in, you drop the fat completely out, almost completely out, and you turn it to muscle building training. So
Yeah.
you're reloading all your carbs, you're reloading protein, your fat levels are down, so there's nothing to stand in the way of the insulin. So your insulin levels just go boom, and that is one of the most highly anabolic hormones that you've got. So
Which is like post contest.
exactly. So you're depleting and then you're reloading, and you don't even have to like change your caloric intake over the course of this whole program. You can eat the exact same number of calories, and your metabolism will not slow down whatsoever because you're rotating these nutrients in and out very strategically. You're changing how your body's reacting with hormones, and the training is actually getting harder as you're going through the program. So you're actually also overtraining yourself over the course of 3 rounds of this kind of training. So it's like getting harder and harder. So your metabolism has to come up. And then
Nice.
when you get to the point where you're pretty much just beat down, this is 4 or 5 weeks in, then you back off, you start taking a lot more rest, you can eat more quote unquote normally, where you can, mix the nutrients together again. And because your body is still trying to recover from this massive overtraining, you don't get any rebound weight gain. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
That
So
just
it's,
happened.
yeah. Yeah. It's just, that's how you avoid rebound weight gain is you ramp your metabolism up so much and you force your body to require so much recovery so that all the food you're eating just goes towards recovery, building muscle and building strength.
Yeah.
So rather
Well, more
than
like an anabolic recovery too, not so much a catabolic one, whereas
it's an
someone's
anabolic,
like starting out at like they go, oh, I need 2,600 this is the normal approach. I need
yeah,
2,600 calories. So in order, for me to lose weight in 12 weeks or whatever and take my photo or go into the hot tub or whatever, I'm going to drop out, maybe just 150 now per day for whatever. And then I'm going to try to lose another 300 through cardio. And they're going to skip out on 20 minutes of their weight training in order to do the cardio. And then so they lose a little bit of weight and now their metabolism, they don't know it, but it drops a little bit. They also lost a little bit of muscle mass because, hey, they want to do some more high reps right now and then they want to replace their weight training with some more cardio. And now their metabolism drops and they only require like 2,500s and then they drop out another few hundred. And before you run out of basement, there's
yeah.
nowhere to go.
It's a grind. Basically, it just grinds you down. And
Yeah.
that's completely the opposite approach that I'm taking here is that I think one of the best ways to approach it is it's almost like a slingshot where the first fat loss week you're really pulling back, and then the second week you're springing forward again. So you can actually even go a little bit above your maintenance levels for the first couple of days because your body's just sucking it all up and
Hmm.
building muscle with it, and then you drop back down and then you do it again. So you're never really just kind of gradually fighting the fading of your metabolism. You're
Hmm.
actually like putting a torch to your metabolism, which is a whole different ballgame. You're not just kind of biding your time and kind of grinding things down slowly. I cannot stand that approach.
Yeah.
I know people do have
Because you're
success
waiting
with
for
it.
the day where you can get a release
Yeah,
and you feel
it's
like crap.
I've tried that approach before, and it
Yeah.
lasted I think 2 weeks on it. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I just can't stand this. And it was just, I don't want to, play with my caloric intake like that. I want to take a sledgehammer to it, so I get as much bang for my buck as possible. I want to get it over with as fast as possible because I like to eat, you
Yeah.
know, and I want to be able to eat. And if I want to lose fat, I'm just gonna, throw everything at it, tailor everything in my program, in my eating, my supplements, my diet. Everything is going into this is the goal I want to accomplish right now, and so everything is very targeted to that. I'll just get massive results 4 or 5 weeks, and then I can back off and be more free with what I'm eating and with my training and stuff. And this is the approach I find works so much better for me and so much better for a lot of people who really don't want to do that slow grinding approach. It works for somebody who doesn't want to tailor everything to that kind of goal. They want a more easy and gradual approach, which is, if it works for them, absolutely fine. For me, I can't stand that approach, and I would rather just, boom, get it done. So that's,
I wish I could rewind everything you just said and then pick out certain parts and I could remember it all because one thing that kills people's attempts at losing weight is the fact that it sucks so bad. First of all, because you're counting calories.
Yeah.
So so whatever. Peggy or John has a birthday, you go out and you just don't know what Moxie's burger or chicken platter has for calories. You just don't know how, first, you don't know how to enter it, and you don't know about this app or that app or how to, you don't know if you're over your caloric intake or out. So then boom, I just lost that day. Well, I may as well throw a chocolate sundae in there too because today's already gone down the shitter.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that makes people fail. And the other thing is when you're counting calories, people get into this whole condiment thing. Oh, I can't use any salad dressing here or there because, and then now their food tastes like crap. And
Yeah.
so they're waiting for the end of this set period where they can actually return to a normal lifestyle. The problem is they've been so restricted that a normal lifestyle causes the rebound, which yours doesn't.
Yeah.
So then they get on this yo-yo and they're like, well, why should I bother trying to stay lean year round because it sucks so bad and I'm just going to gain it back. So then this mental thing goes on. Yours doesn't have that effect. When you're talking about macronutrient segmenting, like and going like maybe people aren't quite hearing the fact that, like, say if you're on a high protein day or whatever, or low carb, however you want to phrase it, that doesn't mean you're not getting any carbs. It just might mean like you're doing salads, and if you make salads right, like salads are good, and it's super easy, like what, because I eat somewhat like how you're saying, but I have a day job too.
Mm.
And, you know, prepping meals is a bit of a chore. Would have 6 Tupperware containers. So all I do is I have a bag of veggies, and I just chunk off a big thing of roast, and that's my high pro low carb day, right? And I hit that, and then if I'm gonna cycle out, I might just go with protein shakes for 3 days, but I might put fruit in there too. And the fruit might be my high carb days. So what I'm trying to get at is that when you're eating the way that you're talking about, it also works with a real lifestyle because you're not weighing, you don't have to worry about keeping track. The foods are normal and easy, require low prep, and it's practical. And the fact that it works and you're not going to turn into super skinny, no muscular, low strength, it's awesome.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is it has to be practical to do. And that's why I want to stick with just like, here's the groupings of food that you can eat, and just don't count calories, just kind of follow these guidelines.
Yeah. I
That's
have your metabolic from a while ago. I don't know if it's been updated or changed, but after our conversation, it's making me want to go back on it again. I have the Fat to Fit program,
Mhm.
but that approach it's a typical approach.
Yeah.
That's the written down typical approach. Here's your Excel calorie counter, and you're going to do this and this and this and this and this, and you can maintain it.
Mhm.
I like the way yours is laid out. It sounds really good, and it sounds accessible for a ton more people.
Yeah.
Let me just. I got a bunch of questions here I have to ask you, and I knew we were going to get off on a tangent as soon as we started getting into something we both dug. But
Yep.
where are we at here? We're at about 40 minutes. Okay. All right. So we talked about your metabolic surge and from what I know before, I don't know if it's been updated or not, but even before, it was actually, I used your metabolic surge when I went down to um, Mazatlan to Mexico on a vacation,
Mhm.
and I have pictures of that vacation, and yeah, I was looking good there.
Yeah.
So there's some proof for personal firsthand proof.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Are you writing all your sales pages?
Yeah, I write all my sales copy, everything.
Well done, man. It's
Thanks.
good
Yeah.
stuff. I was reading, I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's all right. Have you always been doing this, or did you at one time have a 9 to 5 job?
My wife gives me a hard time about this because I've never had a real job in my
I
life.
know. Yeah.
When I was young enough, I was doing, mowing lawns and doing yard work and stuff like that. And then I got into being a lifeguard for a few years. And
Yeah.
then I worked for a landscaper for a while, and, I was the labor, so shoveling and,
Yeah.
and then I did have an office job, but it was like such a slacker office job that I can't really count it as a real office job. It was like a summertime job where they were looking for somebody to kind of just like sit in the office and take up space because the manager was going on vacation.
Right.
So, you know, don't tell anybody. But, my days consisted mostly of like playing Tetris on the computer.
I hear you. I
So,
hear you.
yeah, you know, I kind of got into the training and started working on cruise ships. I was doing like the entertainment staff jobs, calling bingo, stuff like that. And I gave myself the title of sports director on one of the ships.
Nice.
Yeah, because I asked the cruise director. He said, "Yeah, go for it. I don't care. You know, you just do all the sport stuff. That's fine." And so I put that on my resume, and I ended up getting an actual sports director job on a different ship.
You must
And
take what you want.
exactly, yeah. But the cool thing is I actually had a degree in physical education, so I
Well,
was like,
yeah, exactly.
I've totally qualified for it
Yeah,
to be a sports director. So I got that job, and that's that ship I was traveling all around the world on, and that was really cool. And that's where I met my wife. And when we got off working on the cruise ships, then I started working on my online business then because at the time I'm in the United States, I'm a Canadian citizen. I needed a way to bring in an income, but I didn't have a green card to go to work. So I
ah,
basically, yeah, started doing everything online. And
cool.
to this day, my wife owns my business. I don't own my own business.
Yeah, no,
So, yeah,
it's, you gotta do what you gotta do because, um, I was rocking the same way, same thing as you, man, like almost the same jobs and everything. And then I opened up, I made a little mistake and I opened up a physical brick and mortar gym,
yeah, that's
and
a
the
whole different.
lease buried me, man.
Yeah,
So I had to get out of it. And, paying off the goods, I've actually had to take on a job as an electrician
oh yeah,
while I re-ramp up the stuff online again. So, um, yeah, it's interesting the way, you gotta, it's the lesson out there, folks, is you gotta be adapting to everything that goes on, but there's always a way out. So I get back online full time like you again.
nice.
Um, Actually, which brings me up to another question, which is in the oddball section, because I'm going to have these because they have nothing to do with fitness usually. But talking about how your life zigged and zagged there, and then you ended up, I'm guessing just by, at 40 plus, looking the way you look, being happy and everything, I'm guessing you're probably where you'd like to be right now. I mean, there's always more you want, but you're pretty good with what you got going on.
I'd say so, yeah. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm always looking to expand because for me personally, I know I've got a lot to offer, and I know there's a lot of people out there who really need my approach to training. And because a lot of the stuff out there is, quite frankly, it's boring, and
Yep.
it's normal. And
Normal. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of people who do not want normal and thrive on the crazy stuff. And
Yep.
that's what I want to bring to people. So. I've got a lot of people who follow me, and I'm thankful for every single one of them because without them, I couldn't be doing what I do.
We
And
share a lot of common friends actually on Facebook.
yeah,
When
well, I'm sure.
they came out, they're like one common friend, Nick Nilsson. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, cool, right on.
yeah.
But so now in regards to that, what might be like? Let's just go with three as a ballpark figure of things that you've like sort of implemented over the timeline of what you've been doing to kind of maybe keep yourself on track or steer yourself into what you want. Like, for example, for me, it's been like keeping my eye on the prize, focusing on one thing until it's completed, and uh, being able to adapt to things that come up. That's sort of like seems to be the things that have helped me whenever I've made a breakthrough.
Mm.
Anything yourself?
For me personally, the biggest thing I did to make a breakthrough was I started actually online doing online personal training because that's kind of what my background was. And I kind of came to the realization at the time, and this was, literally like 10, 12 years ago, that that's not going to work because you're trading your time for money and you need to leverage yourself better. And I could help more people by writing ebooks and writing books. So when I kind of came to that realization, that was a whole like pivot in my business focus. So
So
rather
by the
than
online training, were you talking to them on the phone and that's why it was actually consuming chunks of your time or
oh
something
no,
like that? Or
I wasn't doing phone consults, but I was like putting together customized programs for people,
ah,
communicating via email. So
okay.
everything was a customized monthly program, so I was putting a lot of time into each individual client. And at the time, online personal training was totally new, so I couldn't charge very much for it. You know,
Mm,
I'm
yeah.
not known in the business at the time at all whatsoever, so it's like yeah, I can't really charge a whole lot of money, so I couldn't make a living doing that. So I had to find a way to basically make a living. And writing ebooks, selling the ebooks, was a way to leverage my time and basically reach a whole lot more people. And that's what really got me started. Was my best exercises you never heard of book.
Hmm.
I borrowed a video camera from my mother-in-law, shot video in my basement in my little 10 by 12 gym, where all I had was some adjustable dumbbells, a power rack, barbell, and a bench. And
I have the same setup,
yeah,
dude.
so that was my
Yeah.
whole, you know, that's where I put that whole book together, and that's what really really got me started. And
People should get a power rack, man.
yeah,
It's such a small investment, and like there's nothing that's going to pay you back more.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond like having a barbell and dumbbells, your
Well, I
next,
mean, there's
yeah,
there's going to be a barbell in the rack.
yeah,
I
oh
just
yeah,
assumed.
yeah. You got to clarify sometimes here.
Sorry.
But
Yeah, yeah. No,
having a
just the
yeah,
rack, and you can stare at it, and you can hang plants from it, and maybe some dry like
and you'll be
laundry.
massive.
Yeah, you get huge.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Cool. Sorry. Was there more to say? I keep interrupting, but I'm kind of
yeah.
caffeinated right now,
That's all
so
right. Yeah,
you
but no,
know.
that's totally it with the rack. Is like when I first was starting putting together my home gym, that was one of the very first things that I got. It was like, okay, I'm gonna go get a cheap, 300-pound standardized weight set, get some adjustable dumbbells, some plates. My next step is I'm getting a power rack because I know how much you can do with the power rack. It's not, don't call it a squat rack because it's not just a squat rack.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can do everything with the power rack.
It's for curls.
It is for curls. Like, there are actually variations of the curl that I've come up with that you have to use a power rack for.
What, like a drag curl, maybe sort of deal, or what?
Not a
Uh,
drag curl, but say
bands?
you're standing in the power rack.
Yeah.
Stand like directly in between the uprights.
Yeah.
So you're like, and now you curl up, and when you curl up, the bar bangs into the uprights.
Yeah.
So when you're at the top, you're pulling actively against the uprights.
Oh.
So you get beyond the squeeze. You're also getting that direct backwards pull because you're like leaning backwards and you're pulling the bar back into the uprights.
So now you get the tension in the spot that
Yeah.
usually has the dead zone.
Yeah. So instead of just getting the vertical like gravity upping, you're actually getting
Yep.
direct horizontal backwards, which is the line of pull in the muscle at that point.
See,
So
folks, this is the shit you need to know.
yeah,
This is the good stuff.
this is why you have to use a power rack for curls.
This is why the next time when the big bodybuilder wants to kick your ass for doing curls in the squat rack, you can say, "No, dude, listen.
Try this. Yeah.
You can blame it all on Nick."
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. The funny thing is, a lot of people do these crazy exercises in their gyms, and people look at them all funny, and then the next day, these people are trying those exercises,
Yeah.
and they tell
I
me this, and they're like, this guy was like, "Well, man, what are you doing?" And it's like, okay, well, when I used to train in commercial gyms, I would do some of these insane things, and I would have people coming up to me and saying, "What's that for? What are you doing?" And I'd say, "Try a rep," and they'd be like, "Oh my God, this is
yeah.
great."
It's funny
So
how many times when you do something like and you actually know what you're talking about, that there'll be somebody that, is like, well, they're like 2 months out of a personal training course and they'll come home and be like, you know, I, I just want to tell you that your form is a little bit off. And you're just
yeah,
like, yeah, thanks, man.
thanks.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Cool stuff.
yeah.
Um, oh yeah, sorry, but some of the exercises that you have are actually better than a lot of the machines because they use the free weight, they use gravity and a lot of like moving your body around it and stuff like that, little bands, things like this here and there. And they actually, because of it's not something that you could package in a machine, actually works out a lot better than some of the machines. Like, for example, working calves at home. Once you get past, doing calf raises on the stairs or whatever, working calves at home can be a little tricky unless,
Unless you've got a power rack.
yes, and you do what, Nick? Tell us some of your cool calf stuff.
Actually, the best calf exercise is done in a power rack. It's a donkey calf raise, where yeah, it's actually even so much better than a machine because you set the bar, like say here's the rack, here's the uprights. You set a bar across the safety rails, just a little at an angle. You get your body underneath, so your back is directly lengthwise under that bar. You set your feet on a calf block, and then you grip on the top of the bar, and then your body is just going up like this with the bar down your back. So it's like direct resistance on your calves. You have freedom of movement because the bar is not fixed, it's only pivoting from one end. So you're not locked into anything in specific, so you can follow your body's own natural pattern. You have to stretch at the bottom, you have to stabilize, and you're getting the exact same movement. And it's just like 10 times better than any donkey calf machine I've ever found. And this is the beauty of having a rack, is you can do stuff like this. You can make your own machines out of just a simple lever with the bar. You can
Yep.
make a shoulder press machine, anchor one end at the top, put some weight on that end, and stand outside the rack, and suddenly you've got a shoulder press machine standing outside the rack because it's pivoting from the other side. It's a simple lever.
Yep.
You know,
So how high is your ceiling?
Ceiling in my basement it's an 8-foot ceiling, but
So so you don't do just regular standing presses, I'm guessing, because of plate clearance, right?
I can do a standing press, absolutely.
Really?
I've got just enough, yeah.
Oh wow.
So maybe some
I
9s
might,
here
I
and there.
might need to get some more tens or something just so I can like boom, 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 bring it out because I'm thinking about like, or either that or I got ridiculous diameter on like 45s or something because I would end up I think coming through my floor or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, cool. Shoulders, that's an issue for some people. And if you're into the bodyweight training, you can also hang your rings from the chin portion of the rack, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, how much time we got left? Because I got to fire through some reader-ish questions here.
Okay.
50. I'm assuming we might have an hour.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so feel free to. I want to get to that in a second. No, let's take a sponsor thing here, and we're going to use Nick as a sponsor. Okay, Nick has a free report for you, and I will link to it. And in this free report, you can tell me if you want me to give them another one, but this one looked pretty juicy to me. You're going to get the best way to do weight training and cardio to maximize the fat loss results you get from each. Yes, please. You're going to get 2 powerful fat loss workouts, including suggested exercise, sets, reps, rest periods, and they'll have you in and out of the gym in 25 minutes or less. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Number 3, you're going to learn how to use the program no matter what training level you are, which is awesome. So beginner to advanced. And oh, we got a number 4. Why these particular workouts will have you sweating even hours after you're done. The metabolic boost you get from this training is unbelievable, and you'll be burning fat long after the workout is over, as opposed to the usual approach when this fat burning effect is done once your cardio is done. Boo. All right, so that if you follow the link over at this will be episode number 2. We'll go 2 on this one. I'll push it back. And so Fat to Fit program podcast episode 2, we'll link over to that. You'll get that free report from Nick, and you can't go wrong with that stuff. Okay, now for readers, did you want me to add anything else to that?
No, that's cool. Read it.
Yeah, cool. All right. Okay, questions for Nick. You can ask me any questions you want, or get me to ask people any questions you want on Twitter with hashtag AskRayFitness. First question. Well, carbs, no carbs, carb cycling, carb type for keeping muscles but burning fat. What's the deal, Nick?
Carb cycling, absolutely. It's you to pull out the carbs like we were talking about. That's what sets off the fat burning really more effectively by keeping insulin levels down. But if you do that for more than I found about 6 or 7 days, then you start getting into catabolic state, which is muscle burning, and the effectiveness drops. So that's when you put the carbs back in. You take advantage of the rebound of glycogen resupply, and it's so much easier to do it that way. I've tried doing like 2 weeks low carb, and it's just misery. But you know, a week, 5 to 7 days is perfect, and then you just reload the carbs, and that gets your metabolism cranked back up again, and then you switch back and cycle out the carbs again, and just kind of rotating through those is absolutely the way to go to burn fat and to build and keep muscle.
Cool. Heavier high reps, generally speaking, all around.
Was that heavy or high reps?
Yeah, like heavy weights and like medium 6 to 8 reps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or higher reps. I guess what I'm talking about here is separate cardio, or going with like, so heavy separate cardio, or the high rep approach where people are doing, like 30 rep sets of everything to try to keep your muscle mass and get lean.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they're getting at.
I gotcha. Yeah, you absolutely need to keep training heavy, and you can do the high rep stuff in a very targeted way. Like specifically, when I was talking about the growth hormone, lactic acid training, you do need the high reps for that, and that's when you incorporate them in. But
now, are you talking 20 or are you talking 5,000?
20, 30, 40, that kind of range.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the best programs I've got for setting off growth hormone and lactic acid is you pick a weight that's a moderate kind of weight that you could normally do about 15 reps with, and you crank out at least 20 with it. So for example, you're doing bench press, you don't focus on form so much as you're not using like terrible form, but you're just trying to crank out as many reps with that weight, that moderate weight, as possible. And then you cut the weight in half, rest 20 seconds, and then you focus on strict form. So you generate as much lactic acid as possible with those high reps, and then you drop the weight, and then you go really tight form, high tension. That's just for that workout. But you also do need to keep up with the heavy training because
Mm.
that's what gives your muscles the stimulus to, stay muscles,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly, right?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, if you don't need it, I mean, it's not exactly the most efficient tissue to have on your body. So
yeah.
if you're not using it, your body's just going to be like, hey, why?
You absolutely need to stay relatively training heavy.
Exactly.
Not like super heavy like you're doing a strength cycle or anything, but
Mhm.
relatively heavy is important. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, cool. Just trying to fire through them here. Now, do you prefer separate cardio or supersetting for fat loss?
Um,
I get okay, let me you know what I just said.
yeah.
But I mean what I should elaborate on is should you be doing a weight training session? It's kind of more of a old school approach. And then say coming back in the evening and doing 45 minutes of cardio, walking, or do you prefer more the let's go heavy and we will superset weighted chins with dips,
Hmm.
and that elevated heart rate is going to be our cardio? What do you prefer?
Neither.
Oh, really? Okay, fire
Yeah.
away then, my friend.
Yeah. For me, I'm not a huge fan of supersetting. Um, it's good, and some people really like it. But when I want to lose fat, I'll either do cardio just on its own day, and I won't do like traditional cardio like the long distance or anything. I hardly even do like interval training. I tend to do like resistance based cardio. So, for
Mm.
example, my cardio training this past summer was putting a 135 barbell on my one shoulder and walking my neighborhood for 2 miles.
Hmm.
So I would do that, and partway through I'd swing it around, carry it on the other side. So I carried my 135-pound barbell through my neighborhood 2 miles without setting it down,
That's
and
gross.
it was miserable. And but some of the other cardio I was doing, yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, it was miserable.
Yeah, yeah, no.
But that's my idea of fun. So
Yeah.
that's different breed of cat there. But basically, I kind of worked up to that where I would do just like smaller carries and stuff, 135, then worked up to 145, and then 185. I got up to 225 for a few carries, and that's brutally hard. But then I
I can
back,
honestly say that is the first time after all this time doing this that I've ever heard people do that.
yeah, it's really really good for your core though. Let me tell you.
No doubt.
Yeah, and like literally, I've got one barbell, the barbell loaded on my shoulder. It was, you have to get into position. You tilt down, you get it up on the shoulder, you stand up, and then you carry it up and down the street.
I don't know
And
if anybody, you'd have to almost do so, you'd have to see like a wicked Thai massage therapist or have like used a lacrosse cross ball directly into your trap to appreciate the amount of pain that's involved in having a loaded barbell only on one shoulder.
yeah, yeah,
You know?
that's lucky for me. I actually found a really, really good barbell pad, like
Oh,
really
nice.
super thick barbell pad that
Okay.
it's not perfect still, even with that kind of load on it, but it
Yeah.
cushions it pretty well. And yeah, but just carrying that up and down the street, it's awesome. And so I
So,
was my cardio was basically just loaded carries, and
okay.
yeah,
Bear complexes too, or anything like that for on like cardio resistance based sort of like eight deads, eight cleans, eight presses, eight squats, kind of like boom, all with the same weight. Like,
I do like complexes actually. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't
okay,
really use them very much, but I do like them.
okay, cool.
For me, personally, I just like doing that kind of resistance-based cardio training because I think it's just fun, and I love freaking out my neighbors.
Yeah,
So,
no doubt, no doubt.
yeah,
Okay, and you rely a lot more on like you say your like metabolic surge sort of
yeah,
macro cycling
yeah,
as opposed
and
to
very short rest periods in between weight sets as well. So
okay
I get like a cardio effect from the weight training as well. So
if you're going heavy enough,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Right. So are you talking a minute or is short for you a minute 30?
Sometimes it's like 20 seconds, sometimes it's 30
Oh,
seconds. So literally, yeah, it's very short rest periods, and
okay. That's
sometimes
old school. Vince Gironda kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's one of my training techniques in the Metabolic Surge program is what I call time volume training, where it's three rep sets using a weight you can get about 10 reps with, and you rest 10 seconds between sets. So you literally you take a barbell, you press it boom 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 3 times, set it
Yeah.
down, rest 10 seconds, then you do it again, and you keep doing that until you can't get 3 reps, or when you're not going to be able to get 3 reps without pushing hard, and then you rest 20 seconds. So you're using the same weight for like 15 minutes, but you're managing fatigue based on the rest periods. So,
It's very cool.
yeah, it's very effective too. You get a ridiculous pump from it. It's in the Metabolic Surge program, and it's one of the hypertrophy based protocols in there. but you're still, you're doing massive volume, so you're getting great fat burning effect from it. You're taking very little rest periods, so you're really boosting your metabolism while you're building muscle like that. And you're just putting in so much workload on your muscles that they just suck it up when you're putting the carbs back in as well. So it's just like it's just ridiculous. It's
I
awesome.
like it. I like
Yeah.
it a lot, which actually kind of answers the next question. So I'll phrase it. It's kind of like favorite workout split or workout method, generally speaking. But I think generally your preferred workout method is switching it around a lot,
Oh yeah.
ish.
My preferred workout method is whatever is going to help me achieve the goal that I'm currently focused on. It's I have a lot of different favorite methods for targeting very specific goals, but as if I had to pick just one, it's totally specific to what goal I'm trying to achieve. If I'm trying to build strength, then it's all about, specifically low rep sets, lots of rest in between. If I'm trying to do fat loss, then it's like weight training with cardio in between every set, or it's lactic acid training. If I'm trying to build muscle, then it's like time volume training or other high volume training approaches. Because for me, high volume builds muscle for me like nothing else, and
Mm,
that's what I need to do. The high intensity stuff doesn't do so much for me. It's great for strength.
interesting.
Yeah, it's great for strength for me, but the volume is what helps me build muscle for sure. So
See, I've noticed
it's
the same thing too, where I get stronger on like a 5x5, but it's not until I hit like, 6 to 10, but with 4 sets at least on something that it starts to sort of pay off in like, I feel the volume coming in and the thickness coming back. The 5x5's just the strength, but there's not much happening as far as the size or anything like that for me.
right.
Cool. Um, Next question, how do you eat, frequency ratios, paleo, etc.? Hey, okay, that one, pick up Metabolic Surge. That's all it needs to be said, unless you have something you want to add about that's on
Yeah,
your chest about paleo or anything like that.
I got nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with paleo. I mean,
Okay.
it becomes kind of cultish to some degree, but that's neither here nor there. It's like you can eat however you want to eat. If it works for you, awesome. What I'm doing right now actually is 2 meals a day, and
Oh,
I'm basically having breakfast and then maybe 3 meals sometimes if I get hungry enough. But I'll have like breakfast at like 11 or 12, and then I'll train it to maybe 4 or 5 o'clock, and then a big dinner, and that's it, just 2 meals. And what I've been doing actually is kind of a reverse carb tapering approach, where when I'm not doing a specific fat loss or muscle building program, but I want to stay lean, but still get to pretty much eat what I want to eat. You know, I'll do half a dozen eggs and some chia seeds for breakfast, and so low carb breakfast, maybe a moderate carb light lunch,
you are the
and then
mad scientist.
oh yeah, and it
Yeah.
works because you don't get the swings that you get with you eat cereal for breakfast and suddenly your sugar goes up and then goes
Mm.
back down. This allows me to stay lean, and then basically for dinner I can eat whatever I want and still stay lean. And I eat a lot when I hit dinner because that's when the whole idea of eating breakfast like a king is totally upside down. It's like this is not how people eat. When we were cavemen, so to speak, you don't get up and have all this food ready and waiting for you in the
Oh,
morning. You have to go
yep.
get it. You have to go hunt it. You have to go gather it. After you've spent the whole day doing that, then you relax in front of your cave fire and you eat all this food that you collected. you know that's when you have your big meal, and that's when the carbs are good because they help bring you down.
That's right.
That's when you want to be put to sleep by carbs at night
Yep.
when you're about to go to sleep, not
I
during the
agree with you so
this
much.
not during the day when
Yep.
you have to go to work and do stuff.
Yep.
Just that flipping that switch of, you don't need carbs for breakfast, you don't need that orange juice, you don't need your English muffin, you need like some eggs or some meat or
Yeah, man.
nuts or something. Keep your blood sugar stable, get some good fats in there. Chia seeds I find are great for energy. Nice, lots of fiber in them, some good fats in there, and they're easy. And I just throw them in some water, just let them sit for 5 minutes, and then you throw them down, and they're actually quite good.
I
But
almost wish we would have talked about this at the beginning because what you just said is like I've come to the same conclusion that but it goes in opposition of almost everything people have been saying, except for like the warrior diet is kind of on that sort
yeah,
of path a little bit. But it's just, yeah, exactly. Everything that people are saying about start off, get out of the catabolic state and all that sort of stuff. It's like, well, yeah, but like when you start off the day with that carbs because you need it for the energy for the day or whatever,
yeah.
you get into like cranky, angry, hungry, like
Oh
three
yeah,
hours later,
eating garbage for lunch kind of thing. Then yeah,
and you're bouncing all day, you know, and then you cut them out at night and then your energy starts picking up again and people wonder why, oh, I wish the night was longer because I have so much, like now that I'm done, it's like Yeah, man.
You're eating upside down, dude. Yeah,
Yep,
that's
exactly.
exactly the problem. It's like for me, I have a huge appetite when I eat at dinner in the morning. Literally, 6 eggs and a little bit of chia seeds carries me from like when I wake up all the way until sometimes like 9 at night,
Yep.
and I don't even get hungry.
Just
So it's just like,
nice and steady.
and then at that point, there's no guilt whatsoever. If I want to have dessert, if I want to really stuff myself, that's fine because
Yep.
I haven't done all that blood sugar stuff during the day. So it's my body's burning fat during the day. It's got a very stable source of energy for the whole day,
Yeah,
and
man.
so it just makes nothing but sense when you really kind of think about the biology of how your body works and how your body responds to things, and just kind of putting all those rules out of your head,
Yes.
which really is one of the biggest things I think I like to bring to the table is that just dispense with the whole concept of rules. It's like you can do whatever you want with your body. You can train however you want. You don't have to follow any specific conventions or guidelines. Most of the best stuff that I've got is completely opposite to what you're supposed to be doing according to the conventional rules of training. I have a muscle building program, I have a muscle explosion program where the first week is a strict diet, just like the metabolic surge program. And then the second week is just like taking that overload to a whole new level where it's like massive overload of food, ridiculous training volume all on one exercise. Like literally you're doing like 200 sets of deadlifts in 5 days, and
Ugh.
and not light deadlifts, like heavy
Yeah.
deadlifts.
Yeah.
And it's like compressing 6 months of training into 5 days, and it will almost destroy you. But the results you get from it, I'm not even kidding. A lot of people can't finish it because that's how much it hits you. But
Yep.
when you get through it, the results you can get are just phenomenal. That's like a whole other call though, because it's just like
I know. I
there's
know.
just so much there. But that's the fun stuff to me is just like throwing out the rules and saying what works. This is what
Maybe
works.
maybe every couple of months or whatever, or even before that, depending on whatever you've got free, we should talk about a specific topic. Like, because you think like inside the fitness realm, fat loss is a specific topic. It's not.
Yeah,
It's huge still. And it's
yeah,
like, so how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?
yeah.
And I don't want to take up too much of your time here because I don't know, I think we're about an hour, but uh yeah, where to even go from here now, man? Like that's awesome. Maybe we'll just wrap it up for now, unless there's something. I do have one uninvolved question to ask you
Yeah, fire
before
away.
we go. What is your favorite mainstream or independent movie? Because I'm kind of a movie hound sometimes, so
Hmm.
I like to see if there's something I haven't seen yet or something.
You mean like recent or just in general,
Doesn't
total?
even matter. Like Dennis was like the Wild Bunch and
The Wild
Cobra,
Bunch.
Stallone's Cobra.
Cobra?
So
Wow.
yeah, oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you got that you tend to go back to all the time?
Uh, I got a couple. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so
Ah,
I gotta go with Star Wars. When I was in
okay.
college, I had the trilogy on VHS, and I'd like spend a whole Saturday just put them all one by one. I do that all the
Nice.
time, and I just love the Lord of the Rings movies. To be
Oh,
honest,
geez,
yeah,
yes.
the Hobbit
Yeah.
ones are good, but I think the Lord of the Rings ones stand above. It's
Yeah,
just
totally.
yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
All right, cool. Cool. All right, so let's end this call now. Go over first of all, metabolic surge. If you have any interest in getting leaner, but maintaining your muscle mass, probably even putting some on, and you want this a non-mainstream approach where you're not counting calories, you're doing something that will fit in with your daily schedule, that you could even maintain, even though it does have its phases and there is an ending to it. It's something that you could continue on doing. Yeah, if you want that kind of stuff, check out Nick's Metabolic Surge. I'll link over to it. If you want even just a taste, not that you haven't already filled your guts full of awesome stuff from what Nick and I just talked about, you got to check out his free what bonus, I guess we'll call it, report.
Report. Yeah.
Yeah, I told you there's four things there that you're going to get, and that's awesome stuff. What is it? Just to recap, best way to do weight training cardio to maximize fat loss, two powerful fat loss workouts that'll have you in and out of the gym in 25 minutes, how to use the program no matter what level you are, just getting started or advanced, and why this will keep your fat burning furnace stoked for hours after, as opposed to the approach you're probably using. And all that's from Nick, and I'll link over to it. Nick, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you after all these years. You want a guy that is actually preaching the stuff, but actually looks the part and has been doing it for years and years and is not a flash in the pan. It's Nick Nilsson. Thanks again, Nick, and we'll
Absolutely.
end this call now, man.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you, Ray.
Okay, buddy.